Our speaker today, Rachaporn Choochuey, is a Bangkok-based architect whose work responds to the evolving challenges and possibilities of life in tropical megacities. In 2009, Rachaporn co-founded Allzone, a design studio built on close collaboration and continuous experimentation. Drawing from Bangkok's uniquely informal and improvisational character, the studio explores a contemporary vernacular, not through nostalgic repetition, but through material resourcefulness, social lightness, and a distinct sense of play. Allzone completed Mime Contemporary Art Museum in Chiang Mai, the first contemporary art museum in Thailand, and in 2016, and the project was awarded the Best New Museum of Asia Pacific in 2017. The firm also was commissioned to design the prestigious M Pavilion in Melbourne, which was inaugurated in November 2022. Rachaporn's practice investigates how architecture can remain light, adaptable, and resilient in the face of heat, humidity, and rapid urban change. She frames Southeast Asia as a critical planetary site, a living context where strategies for a warm and interconnected world are always being tested. Through architecture, she offers not solutions, but invitations, ways to live well with change through design that is soft, porous, and joyful. This design inquiry is grounded in deep academic engagement. She's taught for 2 decades at the Chulalongkorn University and has held positions at institutions including the Yale School of Architecture and Columbia GSAP. She received her PhD from the University of Tokyo and a Master of Science from Columbia University. Today's talk, which will go about 45 minutes and then be followed by questions from you, hopefully, is made possible through the joint efforts of the Royal Thai Embassy and the Bawa Trust. And we have to say a special thank you to His Excellency the Ambassador, Minister Councillor Arthit Prasad, who's here, and his team for making this possible. Thailand and Sri Lanka have ties that go back many centuries, but we also are especially grateful for your recognizing and supporting contemporary cultural exchange. We continue to have much to learn from each other. And a special thank you to you, Rachaporn, for joining us and accepting this invitation. We're thrilled to have you here, and over to you.
Thank you very much for having me here. It's really an honor and to be invited by both Embassy of Thailand and also the Bawa Trust. That is a kind of two hosts that I never imagined that they would work together, but this is brilliant. Really, it's an honor. Okay, let's get into the talk. I named my talk Practicing Tropicality, Planetary Site. As introduced, I was mainly practicing in around Bangkok for so many years, around Thailand, let's say. And just recently, I started to practice abroad for some reason. So I'm gonna share with you why it's interesting. Just to show you the geographical location between Bangkok and Colombo, we are not very far in terms of latitude. It's, Bangkok is around 13, Colombo is about 7. So we are both in tropical zone, but I realize that there are also some differences, and I think it is super interesting to share my talk today here so that I could hear a lot more from you. That's what I'm hoping. Okay. And just to show you, this is where we are in the middle of Bangkok. I just learned from Kunatit from the embassy that we live nearby in the same area. And this is where we are. And this is our office. This is a table where we do everything. We eat, we work, we meet things. And our collection of people call stupid things, but that's inspired us a lot. And we do a lot of experiments, testing, because it's architecture is a slow profession. When you think of something, it's always uh, very distant until it's realized. So that was frustrating. So I start to kind of doing all this myself. And this is what we did, just quickly showing you all kinds of things. We are working as an normal buildings and also many others kind of job that some of the architects don't want to do mainly. Okay, getting back to the title, because I name it Tropicality just to show you this is how tropical zone are defined in the world. The darker the color, the heat or the drastic condition it becomes. Okay, and I don't need to show you this, but just to remind you that everywhere is getting hotter. This we all knew, right? And uh, and for example, this year in Europe, some places are kind of 5 degree hotter than usual. This is like breaking all the records possible. So we knew that the world is getting hotter, but like this is really physical. This is really uh, becoming unbearable. And especially in a place like Europe, where they usually never dealt with this kind of climate before. For them, they didn't even know they still don't some places how to handle this heat. This is super interesting. Okay. And just to remind you, I assume that many of you here are architects. Again, I think you knew, just to remind you that if we think that all this climate change, global warming is because of carbon emission, 40% of carbon emission come from architecture, from buildings. Let's say built environment, not only architecture, sorry, it's too limit. Come from built environment. 20% it's building operation, heating or cooling. 6% is from construction industry. We usually blame concrete. That's our kind of bad guys in construction. And then, but I think it's a bit too easy to say so because there are lots of others that look like a good guy, but perhaps not as good as we imagine. And then we have other construction industry like road, dams, and all that. So altogether, it's around 40%. But no one really talk about this a lot. We always condemn people who fly. Like transportation is not even is about half. Like we always condemn people. Why you fly so much? Why you eat meat? Why you use plastic? Look at this. Actually, architects are really responsible of a lot of portion of this, but we just take it for granted, I believe. Okay, anyway. So today I'm gonna talk about a few strategies that I try to develop practicing in the condition of Southeast Asia that have a lot of similarities to here as well. That I'm trying to claim it as a kind of practicing tropicality. And tropicality in this case doesn't mean a style, but more like the condition. Style, when sometimes when you talk about tropicality, people thought of like a style of architecture or um, a built environment that's a little bit more romantic. But no, this is just more like how we deal with climate. And that's why I'm talking about like practicing, how you practice architecture within this. And it took me quite some time to realize that I practice tropicality. uh, the the most fundamental aspect of all this is the sun. This is the condition we find everywhere in urban space in Bangkok. People just try to protect themselves from the sun, and here and there you see all kinds of like several types of roof you have roof and not enough, you have to add more roof. I think here we have the same conditions. Even temporary things like this, it's just you set up a roof to protect you from the sun. And a little bit more permanent, not very permanent, but a bit more. The tent, like gigantic tent, and then you have roof under tents and so on. So it's all kinds of attempt to deal with the heat from the sun. And we a lot of us spend time in the city under all this temporary roof without even knowing. I was fascinated by that, and one day an opportunity arrived. Was some years ago. Um, there was um, a music festival called Wonder Fruits. They're still going on. They've been like doing this for 10 years or more. It's a music festival for around 4 or 5 days. They said 99 hours. And the concept is creative sustainability. So they invite us to work with them. I think this was in 2017, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, around that. And they have an existing structure of the one in the middle you see in the second. And they want a big roof to host people, but they have very, very little money. And that's when people call me. If they have a lot of money, they never call, actually, unfortunately. And they want it to be like assemble and reassemble and reset it up like elsewhere as well, because it's sustainability. So we came up with this idea. We try to understand the basic roof, like fabric roof in architecture. Usually, first of all, if you put tension, the structure has to be super strong because of the tension. And the second, uh, if you have like a big surface, usually you have the wind coming from above, and it has to be, that's why you need tension. So we try to solve this, like how would we set it up without without these two things. And moreover, the light can come through in the middle, because usually if you put like a big roof, that one that is like 850 square meter. Actually, it would be dark in the middle, which is not so nice. So we came up with this idea of shading, vertical shading in the form of waffle structures, so that the you can shade, but then the wind can go through and then the light can go through. When the wind can go through, we don't need to have tension, so the structure will be light and cheap. So we make a lot of experiment. We did it with very thin fabric, as thin as possible, because we want to make it light. And then it shade quite well. And the area where we want a bit thicker shade, we insert this triangle that is an off-cut cell from Jim Thompson. They throw it away anyway. So, so this is some experiment that we did in the office to understand. And then actually, no one made it for us, so we had to do it ourselves. We made like 800 square meter ourselves in the office. Was a nightmare. I'm not gonna do it again. Was really a nightmare. We rent few sewing machine and asked people to do it. Like it became a workshop, and this is how we set it up. And this is how it looks. People thought it like rendering. No, I'm not able to do this. Just this is real thing, and how it is. And we even set it up at the government house, because it was Children's Day, and they call us like, can we like that thing so much? So can you make the government house more friendly to the kids? Okay, fine, we did it. So this is how it works. And after that, we start to do it like in many places in the world. I couldn't believe from 2017, we did it, of course, in Bangkok, in Sharjah, in Saudi Arabia, in France, in Melbourne, as just mentioned, in Shanghai and in Korea. And all of this came from the idea from the condition that all these places are hot and they need like quick solution to fix it. The Melbourne is not exactly like that, but heat is one of the things. We were invited to do M Pavilion 2022, Actually, they wanted us to do 2021, but it was COVID. So 1 year they didn't have it. So we were like, are we going to do it? Like for, okay. But anyway, finally we did it after COVID. And Melbourne is even more than other places. I don't know if you ever been to Melbourne. They call it 4 seasons in a day because they could be like hot, cold, rainy, and finally it's also like a fall kind of season again. So the pavilion has to stand that, even though it is a summer pavilion, stand for only 4 months. They host a lot of events, so it has to be well protected. And we came up with this idea that it was right after COVID. Melbourne was the longest lockdown place in the world. So we proposed that we want this pavilion to be a very public place again where people can meet, where people can freely, friendly meeting each other, like being under big trees. But under the big trees, you get wet. So we have to solve this issue. Again, I am fascinated with something light structure, so I'm trying to make it light. But this time, we have to make it with rainproof. So we developed with the engineers that in the middle, we have 3 layers. The middle layers, that is a structure, has to be a rainproof layer. We use the material called STFE. Is a kind of tensile membrane that very transparent, almost like glass, but it's like the weight is 1/3 of glass, and they developed this to use it for stadium. That at the end of the stadium, usually if you put something opaque, the grass on the ground would die. So, but if you put glass, it's too dangerous. So they developed this material to do that. But we are the second building in the world to use this. And then the upper layer is a fishing net that we just make it to have a nice profile. And lower layer is waffle fabric again. So we did a lot of experiment at in-house, of course. And since it's we want like it look like a big trees and soft and very very loose. It was really impossible to make a digital model, so we had to kind of try to make models and understand it, especially the way the fabric would behave. It's impossible to use any rhino model, so we just did it by hand. And this is the fishing net that we custom made in Bangkok with these 2 colors. And this is how it is. At night, we put the light inside to X-ray the pavilion to honor the engineers who work so hard to come up with all this complex structure. And this is one of the events. They did like all together in 4 months, they did around 300 events. They're crazy, of course. You're not surprised. From like yoga in the morning, they have talk, they have workshop, concert, fashion show, all kinds of things. So, and with the same principle, we did this in Sharjah in the UAE. We were invited to work on the first Sharjah architecture triennial. And I was like, okay, I never been to Sharjah, let's go. And that was quite surprised because I didn't know. It was my ignorance. It was in August, it was super hot. It was super hot, and I arrived in the morning, and like no one was walking the street. These people, I went and actually I died, and even worse because after you walk on the street, you get into the interior space. The temperature is like 30-degree different. Outside is 45, inside is 15. So you die not because of the heat, you die because of the temperature difference. So that was kind of shocking for me. And this is how it works. So what we propose is that if you do like this, people will not go outside and they will keep air condition on all the time. And actually the carbon consumption of the UAE in general is one of the highest in the world per capita because they have, of course, they have resources and people when they go abroad they don't even they turn off the aircon. They just keep it on because it's so cheap. The electricity bill is so cheap. So that was shocking. And the space of air condition is getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. So this after the research, we said that okay, let's try to do something to show that it is possible to kind of going in and out between the outside and inside, interior and exterior, propose a transitional space. So we chose a location in the building of the triennial in the courtyard, and we made a roof. And we calculate the angles of the sunlight in that uh, particular location, and we made the roof to meet the condition perfectly. Again, we had to do it ourselves because no one wanted to do it for us. This time we bought the sewing machine. Now we are the only architecture office in the world that has owned a sewing machine. And one of the quality of our intern, they have to know how to sew. No, for real. This is like, some people come and say, you know what? I love sewing. Okay, take you. And then because it was a Triennale opening exhibition, we didn't have time to shift. So we calculate how much weight it was, and we count uh, the um, the allowance on the plane, and we send people there. Finally, we sent like 6 people there because it's around 150 kilos, and here we go. And we set it up, and actually it was cheaper actually than shipping through the plane. We just have people, and all my staff were allowed only like 7 kilos of their personal belongings. So this is the- right away after we finished, people just came because it's cooled down like 4 or 5 degrees right away. It's really amazing the difference. And it's still there after 6 years. Just a few months ago, they call us up saying, some of the hardware is broken. Can we replace it? I said, of course. That was supposed to last for 4 months. Now, after 6 years, you still have it, so keep it. Yeah, and last year we did it in Riyadh. They have this big terrace for the Riyadh Contemporary Art Biennale, and they want people to go out. But again, it was so hot; it was impossibly hot that you cannot go out. So we did. That was also a quick one, so we didn't have much time to develop further. But we try to develop the ideas of how we uh, fabricate it quickly in uh, in Saudi Arabia. So this is the terrace that they want people to see the very beautiful landscape, but without the roof, no one would go because it was too hot. So this is how we did. And right after that, the director of Luma Foundation in Al, the South France, she went there. She said, "I have a problem. Can you fix this? We have another space that is super hot, and I want it to be fixed within these 3 months. Can you do it?" I said, "It's not depend on me. It's depend on your uh, actually the manufacturers and fabricator in France." So we did the similar thing, but they already have the structure here. So it's a big courtyard and very hot in summer. And we just hang this waffle structure in the courtyard of Luma and here. So after that, like they can use the courtyard. It's a cafe where people hang out, and it's a main space outside in the whole museum. It's not a one museum. Actually, it's a campus. So this is how we did in last summer, not last summer, summer of last year. And you can see the shades and everything. And just last month, we did this project in Shanghai. It's in the plaza of Brockman Art Museum, one of the most historical area of Shanghai. Um, I mean, historical is kind of colonial history, and every 2 years they organize this kind of mini architecture festival, and they want to address the issue of public space and architecture. So we were invited not only to design the space, but to curate a show as artistic director. So we came up with the idea of Shanghai Picnic, because picnic is a form of social public relation between people that everyone can choose how to involve, how much uh, involvement they want to do. You want to sit next to these people, not to these people. You share the food, you don't share the food. So this is kind of to reclaim the um, the authority of using the public space that is very difficult now in a big city like Shanghai, because it's so big that they have a lot of control. So we did the same structure to call people in, and also of course because of the heat. And this is more like a small plaza. We did a small open call for other urban intervention to work with young architects around Asia, and this is how it works. And all the events, even the talk, the workshop happening here in the platform. So this is the waffle structure. We did a lot of tests, and this we try to make it look a little bit like a Chinese pavilion. So to to see if like the form could go, and it was fun. So this is how the people use space, because it looked very casual and relaxed. A lot of people would come just to hang out. That it's very unusual in Shanghai right now. It's where you can go hanging out without paying. Now, like all the public space are pretty much commercialized. And we did a lot of other roofs just to show you that we are not only crazy about fabric roof. This is halfway. It's a pavilion for Thailand Biennale of Art 2 years ago as well. They have a small budget, and they said that with this small budget, we want a permanent thing that lasts there, and so that the city can use as their infrastructure. So we did this small pavilion, trying to understand how to make it cheap, like cheap as possible. So I assume that many of you are architects here. The expensive parts of the roof is the gutter. Usually, the gutter is expensive. So we think that how we make it without the gutter. And this is in Chiang Rai, in the north of Thailand. The craftsmanship is not that advanced. So we have to try to find a way to work with very local technology, let's say. So this is the roof shaped like this is because of the width of the the metal sheets that we bend it like this to become a gutter without like extra gutter. So and it go all the way because of all this with the calculation of how much water it can retain and so on. So people thought, you make a nice curved roof. No, it's all from the water. So this is, and then the structure has to be very small because they cannot do big welding, steel welding. So it has to be very small, very light. And instead of big thing, we make a very small section. So this is how it works. And right again, we are like, our big fan is all this worker. Usually when we did a shade, like the first people who come would be workers because they look for shades all the time. When we saw that like people, the local workers come to our shade, we realized that, okay, this work. That's the first thing. And this is unexpected that the shadow is also quite cute. So, and we did some other more normal project using the idea of the roof as well, not only experimental thing. This is a small community commercial project that they don't have much money. Again, as I said, when they have money, they don't come to me. And they have very small plot in the middle of a lot of high-rise condominium, and so we proposed them to have a big roof and then small boxes for shops so that they don't spend much money on air condition and MEP system. And so this is, you can see that it's a very small boxes with big roofs. And we finished it right when COVID arrived. So it was very popular at the beginning because you are always outside. So that was the idea. So, and well, I don't need to say, like, I try to make it light and not dark. Okay, that was the roof. And then another issue is, of course, you have the roof, but it's never enough because you have the shade, but then for example, from here, you see that people need to put on the mosquito net. We have mosquito as well. So we have to filter a lot of things. And even though sometimes it's fine, like this is one of the protests in the middle of Bangkok, people just stay without anything. Like this, they even do foot massage, and this is how they settle even. So, but then you see, this is the roof and also mosquito net at the same time. So I try to learn from this. And this is another protest that they just set up the tents and very transparent. The wind can go through, but a little bit of privacy and a little bit of mosquito protection. And I started this long time ago to understand how, like, how the winds, how ventilations and object would be visualized and engaged. Unfortunately, this is not a video. Actually, it's a small project we did in a farm that with this kind of architecture size sculpture. It's a place where tourists should come, but they don't come because they didn't come because it's look too nature. So our job is to make it look like someone is there. So we put on this big sculpture. We like big fabric sculpture. The cutting of this fabric are from very local craft of cutting, and we made it like enlarge it to like 6 meter by 6 meter in size to from 6 to 2, and we did a lot and we test a lot of them. This is a nice part of like working with fabric because you can test, like if you work with concrete, it's impossible to test for in a short time. So we study a lot of pattern, and then we found the right pattern that we like, and we made all this sculpture. And actually, it's moving. It's so light that when the breeze comes, it's moving in a very nice way. So it's kind of visualized for people as well that this is a cool place you can come because it's the wind. So that's how we try to communicate. Okay, and then I move on. I think this one is almost 10 actually exactly 10 years ago, like October 2015, we were invited to work on the first Chicago Architecture Biennial. And they say like, you can do whatever you want. And I'm like, what is this? So you reflect the place where you are. So what I was very interested by then was some of my staff who came from outside Bangkok. They couldn't find a place to live in Bangkok because it was too expensive. And it was very difficult. She was complaining all day, like all the time, like how she had to find roommates and blah blah blah. So anyway, so we came up with this idea that how can we host these people in the city, because they're really crucial, like people who just graduate, like a kind of incubation moment that they don't earn enough yet, but then they have a great future. But what about these few years? How do they do? So this idea came up. So we thought that we can make a kind of temporary housing for them, using very light materials, and like the size could be very minimal. In this case, I use one parking space as a size. We did 2.4 by 4.8, and it could be one unit, and it could be a community, and could be really uh, a neighborhood. And we use this very cheap kind of metal coated with plastic that used in a normal street vendors, super cheap. And then we make it serious, look like a play, but we make it very serious. We draw, we taste, and we make, like, we design everything in a way that people can really use it. And we build 2 units in an abandoned parking structure of a hotel in the middle of Bangkok. And I have 2 of my staff living there for 1 week. It has a water and electricity because it's a parking structure. There were like guys who uh, keep the keep the structure from invading. We rented and we built this for 1 week, and we made a film out of this. And the film is our participation project to the Chicago Architecture Biennial 2015, and after that, it became a permanent collection in the Art Institute of Chicago. If you go now in Art Institute of Chicago, you can still watch the film. So basically, it's just 2 boxes wrapped by mosquito nets. The light that is so stranded because of mosquito net, and here during the day, and all the details that, like, it's like look like people can leave, and actually people can leave. And then we move it, like 2 years after we did it in our office, because people say, hey, we never seen it, we want to see it. During Bangkok Design Week we did it, and we made it as an Airbnb, and some people really come to, they were curious, they came to stay. I'm like, wow. And this is the party when we did the opening. This is the interior. A year after, we did it in Japan, in Eshiko Sumari Triennale. We cut it half size because the idea of that exhibition was more about the small space. So this is the 2.4 by 2.4 by 2.4 a cube, and it still works there. We were very fascinated by this kind of how we filter the environment. So this is a bit more serious. It's a house. The client was born around here, and she want to build a house around here, but to be bit more protected because she is a single mom, and she doesn't want to that people see her. So, but then at the same time, she said, I want to see the light. I want to have the natural ventilations and all that. So we proposed her to clad the whole building with all these perforated concrete blocks, and then we have the ventilations, like it all, like the middle part is a kind of a well that ventilate the whole house. There were a lot of space that in between, not interior, not exterior. And this is how we clad it. We decide the bricks. It's, I think we did really too much on this. It's really a nightmare, but we did it. And this is the space finally. So you can see that this is like the living room is kind of almost like a terrace outside. People couldn't see, but then uh, they are really almost on outside. So this is the top terrace with the very perforated roof as well. Just early this year, we finished a tiny chapel. It's a Christian chapel in the suburb of Bangkok with the same principle, even more extreme. It is a small chapel that actually the priest, the father who initiated this, he want to build this small chapel in the middle of nowhere. There are a lot of newly developed gated community, but then there's nothing else. So he said he want to be kind of center of the community, and we discussed a lot. He shared that during COVID, his the church that he was running could operate throughout because it was able to open completely without air condition. So they can still offer services to people. So we discussed this idea and we really went extreme. And I said that if you want natural ventilation, can we like completely open because you are in the middle of nowhere. It's a good ventilation. And then if we don't have like air condition, maybe we don't even need glass, which is super expensive in a building. So finally, I convinced him. So we did this church that is completely open, this chapel that is completely open, elevated from the ground because the ground is very low and it could be flooded. So we just elevated the main space out up and everything is open without glass. We just we propose to use the prefab concrete panel uh, to cover the surface of the building. So this is how it looks. It's also because the funding they had to use it within 1 year. So concrete prefab concrete panel is the solution because it could be done very quickly. So this is the opening. We opened last year, like I think on the 5th of December. Even if it was not completely done yet, but they have like people, all the priests from the Vatican came. So this is the opening and the interior space, all very open. And we did a lot of calculation on the rains and the simulation actually. And we realized even we used the best environmental engineer in Bangkok, they said that all the software is not for the rain because in the West, they don't care about the rains. So they had to make a kind of simulation based on the wind, but put an extra layer of the rain inside. So that was quite a shocking for me as well. Like all these fancy software cannot calculate rains. So this is the interior. Uh, you might ask it if it is wet when it rains, slightly. But if you are really inside, if it has to rain like 2 hours and you start to feel like the rain start to accumulate a little bit. I asked the father, the owner of the project, like, shall we fix anything? Like, shall we put more panels to stop the rain? And it's okay. It's like 3 days a year. You just clean it. So I was impressed. Actually, it was like I was ready to like to fix it. He said, no, it's fine. 3 days a year, we can clean. So that's sometimes the client is quite surprising. So this is my latest experiments that I was building at my own house in Chiang Mai in Thailand. That I try to understand how much you can build in terms of filtering. So we came up with the idea that is like just a roof and some wall first, and to see how much we need to build. Just like minimum with the toilet and storage and open kitchen. And do we need really a bedroom? Do we need really a living room? Just to see. And I'm still in the process. We use this cheap eco brick like the eco brick, it's in Thailand, they use this the old concrete that they mix with the new concrete to become a brick, and we use it, but then we put it horizontally so that airs can go through. And then this is the space, and we start camping there to understand how much we need to build. So we really camping with the tent, and we just put in the kitchen just recently just to understand. And it seemed that we might not even need walls because this seems fine. So let's see. I'm still looking for. The third one is a bit quick. It's I think one condition of the tropical is about being adaptive, because it's always everything change all the time. Not as much as Melbourne, but a lot of uh, climate conditions always change, and that's why we build with light materials. I'm not so sure about here much, but in a place like Thailand and other parts of Southeast Asia, most of the materials are light, and then we always add things. So we don't really care about like how the original look like, and this is a big problem for conservation really, because we don't have this perception of the building should really last forever. So, but then you can look at all this building that is start to get like in a bad shape after a while, and people just keep adding and doing things. And we have a lot of building like this in Bangkok as well that remain unfinished. Uh, and all these shop houses that are kind of in a outdated shape. I want to go back to our office in Bangkok. That actually it was this condition. We found this building is really in bad shape, super good location, and by then it was 2008. No one wanted to do renovation because it's difficult. As an architect, you all know it's difficult. But the location was good enough, and I was like, let's try. It was really a nightmare, but it was worth it. We just transform. We try to understand why the typology is really abandoned, because this typology was built for commercial on the ground floor and living on the upper floor. So if the commercial thing doesn't work, they abandon. So we just try to transform the typology by uh, making a parking on the ground floor, and every floor we make it independently accessible, that people can rent floor by floor. And we put the the screen wall on the front and the back, and so we create this kind of breathing space where people can go out, where you can dry your clothes, where you can put the AC units and so on. So, and we use this cheap ventilation brick. By then it was like the cheapest material possible, like it's $50 per piece, half US dollar per piece. So I didn't have much money, so I tried to use the cheap material. So this is how it look at the end. So you block the direct sunlight, but then you still have the light. So this is the space that we still use now. We put plant, we put the materials, and this is the space when long time ago I live on the top floor. This is where I live, and this is how it looks just now. And after that, a lot of people came to us. Actually, that was our first build project. A lot of people came to us. They wanted to do the same, and I think until now we did around 7, 8 of them, shop house transformations. And but the nice thing is that we started the trend, like back in 2007 to 2008. No one transformed shop houses. I'm not the first one, but I think I did it in a nice way that people start to we can do the same. So now if you Google like shop house transformation, this would come out, like so many of them all over Bangkok, and I think now Thailand. Another project that I want to share with you is the contemporary art museum. It looks fancy like this, but actually it was a warehouse like this. And we transform it again. It's the idea of tearing down. It's too much. So we did the transformation of this warehouse. We just insert and make some wall and to make galleries. And the red part is the one that we insert. We kept everything. We made a little bit recess from the existing wall to have a kind of insulation, like air insulation. And we made a lot of light calculation. This is a simulation. And actually, since Rachaporn Weerasethakul might give a talk here sometime soon, we host his first solo show in 2016 at this museum. That's his work. Okay, this is the gallery space and so on. And then I have to talk about this cladding a little bit because it's in the middle of nowhere. And it was a little bit difficult to make a new building in such a cultural city. Chiang Mai is considered the most cultural city in Thailand. So if you do something a bit weird, people don't like. So we try several issues with several materials. This is the last thing we actually decide because the museum was built and designed within all together 18 months. Like we design and build at the same time thanks to BIM software. So we can do that. And we finally came up with the idea to make it kind of mirror-like. We tried to render it. It was not possible. The computer crashed after 3 days. So we had to make models. And because we found this material that looked like modern and traditional at the same time, this is tiny mirror tile that in Chiang Mai they use it like one color. Usually we use it like very colorful, and I thought, wow, this is an inspiration. So we said we're gonna clad the whole facade with this mirror tile. But then so we said, great, this is easy. We're gonna call craftsman. And when they saw 450 square meters, and no, we're not doing this. So we had to invent a way to install this using instead of the traditional way to use swimming pool tie glue that is faster, easier, and nicer. They usually use different types of glue. They use epoxy glue that is forever to make. So we were able to do it within 6 weeks because of this new technique. And after 10 years, it's still there. Almost 10 years, 9 years now. And this is the workers who lay all this mirror tile on the wall. And he never done it before. It was his first time. He did it in 6 weeks. Was super impressive. So this is how it looks. People always thought that it's super fancy material, but no, it's very, very local and very, very handmade. Okay, I think I have 5 minutes more. Um, Another issues about tropical climate, and it will be more and more, it's flooding. We are in this condition. Like this is the projections from New York Times that Bangkok will be underwater in 2050. I think not only Bangkok, many cities in the world. But it's not going to be like the water stay. It will be a kind of casual floods here and there all the time. So this is already happening. This is 10 years ago, like this. So we are, this is not new, but it will be more and more frequent because like a place like Bangkok, it's really on the floodplain. So when the rain come, I was just talking just now that when the rain come now, within a couple of hours, it could be like this easily, like the whole city. But actually, people have been dealing with this. This is the houses on the lake in Cambodia. They would like the water would be like 10-meter difference, and they build like super high houses. And this is in Ayutthaya and also another floodplain in Thailand. they elevate the house all the time, and you can see that even the spirit house went very high, and this concrete tube, is actually for vegetables. When the water is very high, they still can have vegetables. So I was very impressed by all this. And even, and also, like, when it's too flat, they just move like this. It's happened. So with all this, now you're like, what is this? We see that this is a very pressing issue in Bangkok, and the people who got this the most is low-income people, because they were pushed to live outside where the floodplain are, where the floodways are. We work with the developer. We convince him that we want to build like affordable housing in this area, and we finally convince him that usually instead of 2 story, we convince him that we can do 3 story, and then we leave the ground completely empty because it's flat all the time. So this is like, usually this is a common sheep housing outside Bangkok. So you can already see that it's already a big water, because they need to have a kind of retaining pool, but still it's not enough. So we said that, okay, when it's rain, you can still stand this. And this is the, when it rains, you can stay on upper floor. So we also think of a lot of sustainable issue, like the wind, the sun, the light, and we design all kinds of bricks for them. Nice thing here, we convinced the developer to build a prototype, because if you want to make it cheap, you have to build a prototype. Altogether, it's 350 units. Why don't we build one to understand how to cut costs, not to cut costs right away? So he actually accepted. So we built a prototype and tried to solve all the details together. It's a nightmare again. It's a lot of work, but it came out quite fine, and they're selling quite nicely. So this is all this, and the interior is quite lighted, and we did all kinds of uh, tricks to have it here. So coming back to the first issue that I'm trying to discuss, uh, of course, tropical is a local conditions, but as I try to share from the beginning, the condition of tropical is now very global, because some places in Saudi Arabia, in Europe, they might not have all the time tropical condition. They will have like a short-term tropical condition here and there. And our knowledge of handling tropical climate is really valuable. I think valuable than we realized. Few times that I was sought after, because they're looking for people who can handle tropical climate. So thank you very much for having me here. And before I finish, I have to say that all these are not myself alone. They're like teams of people who spend their weekend nights and all of their time that dedicated to all the nightmare projects that I share with you. Thank you very much.